The moment your eyes open between 3 and 5 in the morning, when the world lies silent and still, is not an accident. It is a divine appointment with destiny. Your awakening at this hour is no coincidence. It is a clarion call, a summons to something extraordinary that awaits you. These mysterious early hours hold secrets that most will never discover because they remain wrapped in the comfort of their slumber. But you who have been awakened, you have been selected. The universe does not make mistakes. Your internal alarm, that stirring within that pulls you from sleep during these sacred hours, is a sign that greatness is on the horizon. When your eyes open at this uncommon hour, it is because uncommon blessings, uncommon opportunities, and uncommon breakthroughs are being prepared for you. The question is not why you're awake. The question is, are you ready for what's coming? Are you prepared to step into the fullness of what awaits you? This awakening is the herald of transformation. It is the whisper of potential calling you to rise not just from your bed, but to rise into the purpose for which you were created. Every person who has ever achieved greatness understands that extraordinary results require extraordinary commitments. And it begins with these precious hours that most squander in unconsciousness. The champions, the visionaries, the world changers, they understand the power of these hours. And now you have been invited to join their ranks. Throughout human history, the hours between 3 and 5 a.m. have been recognized as a threshold time, a sacred interval when the veil between the ordinary and the extraordinary thins. In ancient wisdom traditions, these hours were known as the Hora Aurea, the golden hour, when inspiration flows most freely and the mind is most receptive to revelation. This time has been called many things: the hour of the soul, the creative peak, the divine appointment. The ancient sages understood what modern society has forgotten, that there is a rhythm to existence. And these early morning hours represent a peak in our capacity for insight and transformation. Why is this time so special? It is the quietest point in the 24-hour cycle of human activity. The distractions that fragment our attention during the day are absent. The electromagnetic pollution from countless devices is at its lowest. The collective consciousness of humanity is largely at rest, creating a stillness that allows for clarity impossible to achieve during the bustling hours of the day. This is why so many traditions of personal development, from monastic practices to military discipline, place such emphasis on these early hours. They understood that the foundation of excellence is laid in these moments when most of humanity sleeps. The ancient texts tell us that this time is when our spiritual receptivity is at its height. Modern research confirms that the brain produces different waves during these hours, waves that foster creativity, problem solving, and the integration of complex information. What the ancients knew intuitively, science now confirms empirically. Think about it. When was the last time you were interrupted during these hours? When did a phone call, a notification, or someone else's urgency last disturb you at 4 a.m.? This is your time, unspoiled, undiluted, uninterrupted, a gift of solitude in an increasingly connected world. But these hours demand something from you. They require the sacrifice of comfort. They ask you to trade the temporary pleasure of extended sleep for the permanent reward of purpose fulfilled. And that is precisely why so few experience the massive breakthroughs that await in these sacred hours, because the price feels too high in the moment of decision. Your body possesses an intelligence far beyond what most acknowledge. When you find yourself awakened during these early hours, it is not merely a sleep disturbance. It is your physical being aligning with deeper rhythms and preparing you for something significant. The human body operates according to what scientists call circadian rhythms. our internal biological clock that regulates sleep, hormone production, body temperature, and other vital functions. These rhythms are synchronized with the Earth's rotation and have evolved over millennia to optimize our survival and performance. During the hours of 3 to 5 a.m., your body naturally produces higher levels of certain hormones, including cortisol, which prepares your body for activity, and adrenaline, which sharpens your mental focus. In essence, your biology is primed for awakening during this window, but there's more at work than mere biology. Your subconscious mind, that powerful processor that works continuously behind the scenes, is most active during these hours. As you sleep, it sorts through the information, experiences, and challenges from your waking hours. When it encounters a solution, an insight, or a connection of particular significance, it may actually trigger your awakening to deliver this message to your conscious mind. This is not mysticism, this is neuroscience. Your brain consolidates learning during sleep. It moves information from short-term to long-term memory and makes connections between seemingly unrelated concepts. When a particularly powerful connection or solution emerges, the excitement generated in your neural networks can actually trigger awakening. So when you open your eyes at 3:30 a.m. with a sudden insight about a problem you've been struggling with, or with an inexplicable sense of urgency about a particular direction in your life, this is not random. It is your body's wisdom attempting to communicate something of significance to you. Those who understand this phenomenon don't fight against these early awakenings. They honor them. They recognize them as messengers bearing gifts of insight, direction, and opportunity. The question is not, why am I awake? But rather, what message am I meant to receive? When you consistently find yourself awakened during these early hours, it is often a harbinger of imminent transformation in your life. These awakenings frequently precede periods of significant growth, breakthrough, or transition. They are the universe's way of preparing you for what lies ahead. Now that you understand the significance of these early awakenings, how do you harness their power? What disciplines transform these hours from merely being awake to being awakened to your highest potential? The first discipline is immediate engagement. When your eyes open during these hours, don't lie in bed negotiating with yourself about whether to rise. Don't check your phone or scroll through social media. Instead, take immediate action. Sit up, place your feet on the floor, and physically move into the opportunity these hours present. The second discipline is establishing a sacred space. Designate a specific location, a particular chair, a certain corner of your home, even a special cushion. That becomes your thinking and reflection headquarters during these hours. This physical space becomes a trigger for your mind to enter a state of heightened receptivity and focus. The third discipline is consistent ritual. Develop a specific sequence of activities that you perform each time you experience these early awakenings. Perhaps you begin with moments of gratitude, followed by reading inspirational material, then moving into reflection or creative work. The specific activities matter less than their consistency. A ritual creates a container for transformation. The fourth discipline is captured insight. Keep a journal dedicated specifically to the thoughts, ideas, and impressions that come during these hours. The clarity you experience at 4 a.m. may seem unforgettable in the moment, but will often fade as the day's demands accumulate. Document these insights immediately, creating a record of the wisdom that arrives during these special hours. The fifth discipline is protected solitude. Guard these hours jealously against intrusion. Let calls go to voicemail. Leave emails unchecked. Resist the temptation to multitask. These hours derive their power precisely from their undiluted focus. Anything that fragments your attention diminishes their transformative potential. The sixth discipline is purposeful preparation. Use part of this time to prepare for the day ahead. not just logistically, but mentally and emotionally. Visualize successfully navigating the day's challenges. Rehearse difficult conversations. Set clear intentions for how you'll show up in key moments. This mental preparation is like programming your internal GPS before beginning a journey. These disciplines are not complicated, but they require commitment. They demand that you value these hours enough to structure them intentionally. The difference between those who merely experience early awakenings and those who leverage them for transformation lies precisely in this intentionality. Remember, the way you steward these hours is a microcosm of how you'll steward the opportunities they're preparing you for. If you approach these hours with discipline and purpose, you're rehearsing exactly how you'll need to approach the greater destiny that awaits you. Let's be honest. There is a powerful resistance to embracing these early hours. Every fiber of your physical being may cry out for more sleep. Your mind may generate compelling rationalizations for why you should return to slumber. This resistance is natural, but it must be recognized for what it is, the guardian of the threshold that stands between you and your next level. This resistance takes many forms. Physical fatigue whispers that you need more rest. Fear suggests that you're developing insomnia rather than responding to a higher calling. Rationalization argues that you'd be more productive if you slept longer. Comparison points out that others aren't subjected to this inconvenience. All of these voices have one goal: to keep you from the transformation these hours offer. The most insidious form of resistance is what we might call spiritual laziness. The part of you that recognizes the potential for growth in these hours and retreats from it precisely because growth requires change, and change demands effort. This is the same resistance that keeps people in mediocre jobs, unsatisfying relationships, and unfulfilling routines. The comfort of the known, even when the known is limiting. How do you overcome this resistance? First, by naming it. When you recognize these voices of resistance for what they are, obstacles to your elevation rather than protectors of your Wilhelming, they begin to lose their power over you. Second, focus on the first 5 minutes. Don't think about sustaining attention for 2 hours. Just commit to being fully engaged for the first 5 minutes after awakening. Often, the momentum generated in these initial moments will carry you through the resistance. Third, connect with your purpose. Remind yourself why these hours matter. Review your journal entries from previous early morning sessions. Recall the insights, clarity, and direction you've received during these times. Reconnection with purpose fuels perseverance through resistance. Fourth, create accountability. Share your commitment to honoring these hours with someone who will check in on your follow-through. The knowledge that you'll need to report on your stewardship of these hours creates an external reinforcement for your internal resolve. Fifth, celebrate small victories. Each time you successfully engage with these early hours, rather than fighting against them, acknowledge this as a significant achievement. These small victories accumulate into a transformed identity. You become a person who rises to the call rather than retreating from it. Remember that resistance never fully disappears. Even those who have established decades-long practices of harnessing these early hours still encounter the pullback toward comfort and ease. The difference is not the absence of resistance, but the strengthened muscle of overcoming it. This very resistance is part of the preparation. The strength you develop in pushing through the desire to return to sleep is exactly the strength you need to push through the challenges that await on your path to purpose. The battlefield of the bedroom becomes the training ground for the greater battles of your destiny. Across time and culture, the testimonies of those who have harnessed these early morning hours echo with remarkable similarity. Their stories create a tapestry of evidence for the transformative power of this practice. Consider the entrepreneur who credits his breakthrough business idea to insights received during months of 4 a.m. awakenings. He describes how the clarity of these hours allowed him to see connections between trends that remained invisible during his normal workday. The vision that came during these hours eventually grew into an enterprise employing thousands. Or reflect on the writer who found herself consistently awakened at 3:30 a.m. during a period of creative blockage. Initially resenting the interruption to her sleep, she eventually surrendered to the pattern and began using these hours for unstructured writing. The manuscript that emerged from these early morning sessions became her most acclaimed work, touching millions of readers. Think about the leader who recounts how a season of early awakenings preceded his organization's most significant expansion. During these hours, solutions to seemingly insurmountable obstacles presented themselves with unexpected simplicity. Strategies that had eluded his executive team for months downloaded into his consciousness during the pre-dawn stillness. Remember the parent who shares how early morning awakenings became a sanctuary of peace and preparation during a particularly challenging season with teenagers. These hours provided the emotional centering and perspective needed to respond with wisdom rather than reaction to the day's parenting challenges. Consider the teacher who found herself awakened consistently during the weeks before encountering a student in crisis. The intuitive preparation she received during these hours equipped her with exactly the words and approach needed to intervene effectively in a potentially life-threatening situation. Or the health professional who reports how solutions to complex patient cases often arrive during early morning awakenings. Diagnostic insights that escaped multiple specialists emerged with clarity during these hours of heightened mental receptivity. These testimonies aren't coincidental. They represent a pattern, a consistent connection between honoring these early hours and experiencing breakthrough. They come from different fields, different backgrounds, different belief systems, but they converge on a single truth. Something powerful is available during these hours that isn't as readily accessible at other times. The most compelling aspect of these stories isn't just the outcomes, but the transformation of attitude. Nearly every testimony includes the journey from resenting these awakenings to recognizing them as gifts. This shift in perspective, from seeing interruption to seeing invitation, marks the turning point in their experience. Your story is being written right now. How will you describe this season of early awakenings? When you look back from the vantage point of your future achievements, will they be the inconvenience you fought against or the invitation you embraced that changed everything? In Eastern traditions, the hours between 3 and 5 a.m. are known as Brahma Muhurta, or the hour of the Creator. These traditions teach that the veil between dimensions is thinnest during this time, allowing for heightened perception and spiritual receptivity. Practitioners have structured morning disciplines around these hours for thousands of years. In Western monastic traditions, the practice of vigils or matins, pre-dawn prayers and contemplation has been observed for centuries. These early morning hours were considered especially conducive to deep communion with the divine and reception of wisdom. Indigenous cultures across continents have their own versions of dawn practices, often involving ceremonies that must begin before sunrise to harness particular energies, believed to be strongest during the threshold between night and day. Even in secular contexts, the pattern appears. Military organizations worldwide conduct important operations during these hours. Recognizing the tactical advantages of this time, creative residencies and retreats often encourage early morning work sessions. Acknowledging the unique quality of mental output during this period, modern productivity research confirms what these traditions intuited. that for many people, the early morning hours represent a peak in certain cognitive functions. Decision making, creative insight, and complex problem solving often function at their highest capacity during this window. The universality of this pattern suggests that we are not merely discussing a subjective experience or cultural construct, but tapping into a rhythm woven into the fabric of human existence. Just as the ocean responds to the moon's gravity with tides, human consciousness appears to respond to certain temporal windows with heightened receptivity and potential. What's particularly striking is how consistently these traditions connect early morning awakening with transformation and preparation. Across vastly different cultural contexts, these hours are repeatedly associated with readiness for new levels of achievement, insight, or spiritual development. This cross-cultural consensus should give us pause. When wisdom traditions that disagree on many other points converge so consistently on the significance of these hours, we would be wise to pay attention. Your early awakenings place you in a lineage of practice that spans human history, connecting you with countless others who have discovered the power of these hours. The universality of this pattern also offers encouragement during difficult mornings. When your alarm goes off, whether external or internal, at 3:30 a.m., you're not embarking on a strange or isolated practice. You're joining a global community, past and present, who have discovered that something uniquely powerful awaits in these sacred hours. While this awakening pattern appears across cultures and throughout history, your experience of it is uniquely personal. The specific calling these hours herald in your life will be as individual as your fingerprint. These awakenings are not generic. They are tailored precisely to your purpose, your gifts, and your season of life. The first question to ask during these hours is not what should I do, but what am I being prepared for? The activities that fill these hours matter less than the transformation they're designed to produce in you. Are you being prepared for leadership, for creation, for connection, for service, for innovation? The answer will emerge as you consistently honor these hours. Pay special attention to recurring themes in your early morning thoughts. Do you find your mind continually returning to a particular problem, a specific relationship, a creative project, a business idea? These persistent thoughts are often signposts pointing toward the purpose of your awakening season. Notice also the qualities being developed in you through this practice. Are you growing in patience, in clarity, in courage, in compassion, in discernment? These emerging strengths offer clues about the requirements of your coming assignment. You're being equipped with exactly what you'll need for what awaits you. Your calling may not match anyone else's pattern. Some are awakened to create, others to strategize, others to pray, others to write, others to plan. The specific expression is less important than your faithfulness to it. What matters is not what others do with these hours, but your stewardship of what's been entrusted specifically to you. Remember that calling unfolds progressively. You don't need to see the entire path, just the next step. Each morning's awakening provides light for that day's journey. As you honor these individual illuminations, the larger purpose gradually clarifies. Trust the process. The one who called you in these early hours will continue to guide your steps. Your personal calling will involve both being and doing, both internal transformation and external contribution. These hours are preparing both who you are becoming and what you are creating. Pay attention to both dimensions. The outward manifestation of your purpose flows from the inward formation of your character. Above all, recognize that your early awakening is an invitation to partnership. You are being invited to co-create, to collaborate with forces larger than yourself in bringing something new into existence. Your willing participation is essential. The potential of these hours remains dormant until activated by your conscious engagement. Let's translate this understanding into practical action. What specific steps can you take to maximize the potential of these early morning awakenings? First, establish a consistent response protocol. Decide in advance exactly what you'll do when you awaken during these hours. Will you rise immediately, move to a specific location, begin with a particular activity? Having this protocol eliminates the need for decision-making in your groggy state and reduces the likelihood that you'll simply return to sleep. Second, prepare your environment before sleeping. Set out anything you might need during these early hours. Journal, reading materials, comfortable clothing, a prepared beverage. Remove potential excuses for disengagement by addressing practical needs in advance. Third, adjust your evening routine to support early awakening. Earlier bedtimes, reduced screen exposure before sleep, and evening reflection practices can all increase the quality of your sleep and enhance your receptivity during early awakenings. What you do at 9 p.m. largely determines your capacity at 4 a.m. Fourth, develop a method for capturing insights, ideas, and inspirations that seem unforgettable in the moment often evaporate in the light of day. Whether through journaling, voice recording, or digital note-taking, create a system for preserving the wisdom that arrives during these hours. Fifth, build incremental consistency rather than seeking perfection. If you're currently returning to sleep when awakened at 4 a.m., success might initially look like staying awake for just 15 minutes. Gradually extend this time as your capacity increases. Small, consistent steps create sustainable transformation. Sixth, identify specific life areas for focus during these hours. Perhaps you dedicate Mondays to professional vision, Tuesdays to relationship insights, Wednesdays to creative projects. This intentional allocation prevents aimless drifting while maintaining flexibility within the structure. Seventh, create balance between receiving and producing during these hours. Some mornings will be primarily about intake, reading, reflection, meditation. Others will focus on output, writing, planning, creating. Both modes are valuable, and the rhythm between them creates sustainable practice. Eighth, develop accountability for your early morning commitment. Share your intention with someone who will check on your follow-through. Consider finding a dawn partner, someone also committed to these hours with whom you can check in regularly. Ninth, document the connection between your early morning insights and your daily outcomes. Keeping a record of how morning revelations translate into daytime results builds your confidence in the value of these hours and strengthens your resolve to continue the practice. 10th, periodically review and refine your approach. What's working well? What needs adjustment? Your practice should evolve as you grow and as your circumstances change. The core commitment remains steady while the specific expression adapts. Remember that implementation trumps information. The knowledge shared here becomes transformative only when translated into consistent action. The difference between those who merely understand the significance of these hours and those who experience their life-changing power lies in practical application. The moment of awakening represents a crossroads. When your eyes open at 3 a.m. or 4 a.m. or 5 a.m., you face a decision that will shape not just your day, but potentially the trajectory of your destiny. Will you embrace the invitation or turn away from it? Will you rise to the calling or retreat into comfort? This decision seems small in the moment. The consequences of choosing your pillow over your purpose on any given morning aren't immediately apparent. But these seemingly minor choices accumulate. They form patterns. They shape character. They establish trajectory. And ultimately, they determine destiny. The difference between those who fulfill their highest potential and those who live with the ache of untapped possibilities often comes down to precisely this moment of decision, the response to the early morning call. Greatness is forged in these pre-dawn hours when no one is watching and the only driving force is internal conviction. I challenge you to make a covenant with your future self. Promise the person you are becoming that you will honor these sacred hours. Commit to treating these awakenings not as interruptions to be managed, but as invitations to be embraced. Decide that your comfort will not override your calling. This commitment will be tested. There will be mornings when your body screams for more sleep, when your mind generates compelling reasons to ignore the awakening, when the warmth of your bed seems to offer more immediate reward than the cold floor and the uncertain journey of purpose. These moments of testing reveal what you truly value, and I assure you of this truth. On the other side of temporary discomfort lies permanent transformation. When you choose purpose over comfort consistently, you develop a capacity that cannot be gained any other way. You build a relationship with your highest potential that becomes unshakable. You forge a character that makes you ready for the opportunities others can only dream of. Your awakening is not random. It is not meaningless. It is not an accident. It is a summons to something greater than you have yet experienced. It is the universe conspiring to elevate you to your next level. It is your future reaching back to prepare you for its arrival. When your eyes open tomorrow at that uncommon hour, remember this moment of clarity. Remember that you stand in a lineage of those who have been awakened for purpose. Remember that something significant awaits you on the other side of your response. Remember that you were made for more than mediocrity, more than comfort, more than the ordinary path. The hour is coming. In fact, it's already on its way. The only question that remains is, when the moment arrives, who will you choose to be? The one who rises to the call, or the one who rolls over and returns to sleep? The one who partners with purpose, or the one who prioritizes comfort? The one who makes history, or the one who merely dreams about it? The choice is yours. And it arrives with the dawn.